And then just take a couple deep breaths, especially right into the low back. So we always focus in yoga so much on breathing from the belly, but half or so of the breathing muscles are in the low back. So in your child's pose, really feel the back ribs expand. And then that's with each inhale. With each exhale, just gently fall in toward your mat. And while you're practicing that, notice the quality of your breath. If it feels like it's pretty easy, or if it feels like it's sort of rough and bumpy. And then take a moment to just scan over the body and notice if there's any areas that feel really sticky. Maybe the low back, the hips, the shoulders. And just more so that we can stay aware of those areas. Just kind of being careful, breathing into them, noticing how they move, if things shift or change as we continue. And then on your next breath in, come up to a tabletop, and we'll just start to get the spine warmed up with a couple cat-cows. So as you come up into table, spread the fingers really wide. So that'll help creating a really sturdy, firm foundation. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And then drop the belly down and look up and forward for cow pose. Shoulder blades squeeze together, tailbone lifts. Exhale, cat pose, round in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks under. And then take a few more of those just at your own pace, starting to connect movement to breath. Next breath in, come back to a neutral spine. And then we'll just come right into downward facing dog, taking that nice and easy though. So if the hands need to come a bit closer to the feet for a moment, that's okay. Taking whatever little motions or movements that you need. Here you can pedal out the feet or start to get into the shoulders a little bit. You can bend the knees and press the chest back further toward the thighs. Just really starting to work out the kinks a bit. And then on an inhale, we'll come forward for plank pose. Wrists right under shoulders, spine nice and long, heels pressing back. And hands about shoulder width apart, so again, they're right beneath the shoulders. Feet can be about hips width, they don't have to be so exact here. And then with an exhale, press back to down dog, and you should be able to come into that without a whole lot of shuffling of hands or feet. It's usually a pretty good distance between the two. And then let's again come forward through plank. Let's this first time drop down the knees, kneeling plank, before exhaling, come all the way to the belly. So hands should land right underneath the shoulders, close to the chest. Breathe in low cobra. So just the chest lifts up, elbows squeeze to the rib cage, toes point backward. And exhale, relax, forehead to floor. Let's press up and to tabletop. So hands walk in right underneath the shoulders. Breathe in, take the right arm up into the air. So just a little twist, and let's stay here for a couple breaths. Just noticing how the low back feels, if there's a shift in the hips, how both shoulders feel, either the weight-bearing one or the lifted. And then we'll thread the needle. So on an exhale, the right arm sweeps down and through, coming behind the left arm, lowering to the right shoulder. So first here, notice how the right shoulder feels as you rest there, try and relax. And then the left though as well. So hand can stay planted exactly where it is. To gain a little extra length, you can stretch that left arm straight forward, or to find a deeper twist, maybe reach the left hand behind the back. And then stay there for a couple breaths. All right, and use the exhales to sink in a little bit, to deepen in a little bit more with each breath out. And that may mean that you physically move deeper into the posture. It might mean that you just relax a little bit. And then take the left hand back to the mat right under the shoulder. Press there to lift the right arm back up into the air. And then come to downward facing dog again. Both hands down, toes curl, hips lift up and back. And on an inhale, take the right leg up into the air, three-legged dog. Let's bend at the knee and tip the hip open. So that'll get into the hips a little bit, as well as a bit of a twist for the low back. With an exhale, draw the knee into the nose, squeeze in tight. Breathe in, lift straight up and back through the right leg, three-legged dog. On an exhale, step the right foot to the top end of the mat, and then just go ahead and follow that with the left foot. Let's find a forward fold. So this first one, let's take feet about hips width apart, soften up through the knees, and reach for opposite elbows. So come into ragdoll. Try and let the entire upper body fully relax. Maybe you sway a little side to side or shift from foot to foot. And then release the hands down. Keep the knees slightly bent and roll really slowly up to stand. So head will be the last thing to lift up, and once it does, the shoulders can kind of shrug and roll up, down, and back. And come into mountain pose, palms forward. Feet can stay wide as they are here, planted firmly. And then breathe and reach the arms up overhead. And let's take a side bend. So grabbing hold of the left wrist, we'll pull up and over toward the right side of the room. And lifting up both hands as you inhale. Exhale up and over. Same thing, switching your grip to the left side. And breathe and lift. Exhale and fold. Halfway lift, inhale. So hands here can come to shins or thighs, but the spine grows a little longer, the chest presses forward, the shoulders draw back. And then exhale, release, down, forward fold. Plant the palms, step the feet back behind you, plank pose. And then this time knees can be up or down, either way is okay. Bend the elbows through chaturanga. Maybe you come all the way to the belly. And then lift up cobra, staying low, or upward facing dog. Either one, shoulders back. Exhale, we'll drop the knees and find tabletop here. So same thing, other side. This time we'll lift the left arm up into the air to prepare, but we'll stay for a couple breaths. Again, just noticing that twist through the low back, how the shoulders feel. And exhale, taking thread the needle, left arm comes down and through, lowering to the left shoulder, left side of the head. And right hand can stay, or it can stretch forward or wrap around the back. And press down into the right hand so that the left arm can extend and lift up once more. Exhale through tabletop and back into downward facing dog. This time with an inhale, left leg will rise. With an exhale, bending at the knee and tipping the hip open, getting that sensation that the left heel is reaching toward the right shoulder. Exhale, knee to nose, draw in through the belly. Inhale, lift up and back, three-legged dog. Same thing here, we'll just step forward through the left foot before the right foot, top end of the mat. Forward fold, let the head go, and pause here for just a second, kind of shake out the head a little bit. So releasing tension from the neck. On an inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins or thighs, either one. Exhale, forward fold. Lift all the way up as you breathe in, and then fold back down as you breathe out. Halfway lift, inhale. And then we'll plant the palms, step back, and right away lower down through chaturanga. Breathing in, chest lifts, cobra or up dog, either one. And then let's drop the knees down again and come into child's pose. Couple breaths here. So as the forehead drops down, again letting the back body just really relax, taking a couple breaths into the low back, just as we did when we began, feeling the back ribs expand with the inhales. And then gently sinking in as you exhale. And then come back up through tabletop. This time though, we're gonna drop the forearms down to the ground so that the elbows are right underneath the shoulders. Fingers still spread wide, forearms parallel, and we'll just walk the feet backward for a forearm plank. Elbows pressing into the floor, as well as the hands, so using that whole surface area to really root downward. Knees here can be up or down, belly engaged, spine long. Dropping the knees down to the ground, coming back to tabletop, through there right into down dog, where we'll inhale the right leg up and back. Exhale, take the right foot up to the top end of the mat. And let's go ahead and drop the left knee down to the ground. So we'll come into a kneeling lunge, stacking the right knee on top of the right heel. Left leg can be back as far as feels good. So we're working on sinking the hips down toward the floor, whatever that looks like, to get into the hip flexors on the left side. Hands can really be anywhere, so they can stay on the ground, they can come up to the front thigh, or you can reach up towards the ceiling. We'll just keep sinking down through the hips and lengthening the spine. So we shouldn't feel this much through the low back at all. If so, then try and pull in through the belly and tuck the tailbone. And then release hands to the mat, curl the back toes under, lift that knee, and take the right hand up into the air for a twist. And really similar to our thread the needle, we can keep extending up like that, or we can drop that right hand behind the back. And right hand comes down to the ground. And we'll come into warrior two. So that back foot will spin down to 90 degrees. Right foot stays the same as we lift up and open. Right knee continues to stack on top of that front heel. Shoulders relax. Good. Noticing here how the hips feel too. We should feel an opening through the right hip, right inner thigh. And then even more so as we inhale, extending that front leg. For triangle pose, we'll shift as far forward as we can before floating the right hand downward. So it can really come anywhere on the thigh or the shin. Left hand lifts up, right? The floor is an option as well, but we want the upper body to stay really open so that the left shoulder is stacked on top of the right shoulder and the chest isn't falling towards the floor. Good. And then lift back up, re-bending into warrior two. Inhale, right hand to the sky, reverse warrior. And exhale, cartwheel down to the ground. Step the right foot backward, and let's come all the way down onto the belly this time. So we'll come into this shoulder stretch here, bringing hands and arms out to kind of a goalpost position. And then right arm's gonna stay exactly like it is now, but we're gonna pop the left elbow up towards the ceiling so that the left hand is planted on the ground. And then we're gonna push into that left hand, rolling over onto the right side of the body. So once you get there, going just as far as feels okay for that right shoulder, head can rest down. Legs can get a little awkward here. You can bend the top one or step the top foot behind the right one, or just stack one on top of the other. And then come back onto the belly. Hands beneath the shoulders. We'll get to that left side here in a moment. Let's press up and back child's pose. Take about 3 breaths there. Really relaxing, again, into the low back and just letting the breath slow down, becoming more conscious of the breath. And let's press up through tabletop to down dog. Just finishing on the other side. We'll inhale, left leg to the sky. Exhale, left foot up between the hands, dropping the right knee down for a kneeling lunge. So left knee stacks on top of the heel, right leg's back as far as feels good. So front side's a lot more about alignment and back side's by feel. Hands can be, again, in any of those positions, just letting the body slowly sink in. And releasing hands to the floor. Back toes curl as that knee lifts up. We'll sweep the left arm into the air and continue extending up and out through the fingertips, or drop that hand behind the back. Left hand comes down to the floor for support as the right foot spins to 90 degrees, preparing for warrior 2 as we lift and open. Shoulders relax. Fingertips keep stretching outward, extending. And then on an inhale, straighten out through the front leg. So both legs nice and straight. On an exhale, we'll reach as far forward as possible, really shifting into that front hip before the hand floats down for a triangle. Keeping the upper body as open as possible. So it should feel like the whole body could kind of fit into the slot of a toaster. We're all in this one single plane. We're not dropping or twisting, just as best we can. And then lift back up. Exhaling that front knee into warrior 2. Reverse warrior, left arm comes up and over. And we'll exhale, cartwheeling down, stepping back to plank, and again, lowering all the way to the belly. So for the shoulders, we'll prepare by goal posting the arms. And then we'll take that right palm to the floor with the elbow pointed up to the ceiling to push into that right hand, rolling over toward the left side of the body. So left ear can rest down, or left temple. Right leg can, again, sort of just do whatever works. There's no best option here. They can stack, or you can bend the right knee. And then come back to the belly. And find child's pose one last time, just 2 or 3 breaths there. And then from here, we'll make our way all the way onto our backs. So once you get there, take the feet pretty wide apart and just kind of let the knees fall toward each other. They might touch, they might not, just to soften up through the low back for a moment. Hands can rest anywhere, taking just a couple deep breaths. And then with the feet planted wide, start to windshield wiper the knees from side to side. And coming back to center, walk the feet together until they're about hips width apart. So just a little closer with knees stacked on top of heels for bridge pose, arms in tight to the sides of the body. On your inhale, take the hips up toward the ceiling, and if it feels okay, you can kind of rock the shoulder blades a little closer together, maybe even clasping the hands beneath the body. Feel like the shoulders are really pressing down into the floor so that the chest can lift up, creating openness through the front of the body. Take one more really big breath in, and then exhale, lower slowly all the way down to the ground. And once the low back meets the floor, take the knees up into the chest. Here you can hold on to the shins or the thighs and either stay still or kind of rock side to side a little bit. Keep the right knee pulled in. Stretch the left leg out on your mat. And then ground down through that left side like you're pressing it into the floor. And with the right side, pull the right knee up toward the right shoulder so that the thigh kind of presses into the belly and the hip opens up a little bit. And then we'll take a twist here. Right knee goes across the body down toward the floor on your left-hand side. The right shoulder keeps pressing into the ground. Maybe the right arm extends outward to help anchor that a little bit. And the head can stay centered or turn over toward the right shoulder. Come back to center. Once you get there, pull both knees up into the chest. And then we'll just switch sides. That right one goes long, pressing down firmly into the floor here initially as we squeeze the left knee up into the left shoulder. And then left knee goes over and down. Left shoulder keeps pressing down at the same time. So kind of moving the two in opposite directions, creating that nice deep twist for the low back, especially, but really traveling all the way up the spine, maybe including the neck if the head turns left. Coming back to center, both knees move up into the chest one more time. Feet can come down to the ground. And the knees can go wide to the sides of the room while the soles of the feet come together. Here, hands can, again, really rest anywhere, maybe at your sides or on the chest or the belly. And take a couple deep breaths. So not only does this posture open up the hips, but it helps to really open up through the torso as well. So we're creating a little extra space for the breath to move. Stay in the legs, just a couple more breaths, but let's take then the arms above the head. So just making another diamond shape with the arms though above the head as they rest down onto the ground. If that feels like a lot for the shoulders though, and it may if the shoulders feel pretty tight, you can always goal post the arms or even take the hands more out towards the sides. Just finding somewhere that feels comfortable, somewhere that you can still really breathe, but it feels open through the chest and releasing for the shoulders. And then here we'll open up even more, not only through the belly and the lower torso, but through the chest as well. So maybe even bigger, deeper breaths. And then from here, release the arms first. Use the hands to press the knees up and together, kind of giving the legs a bit of a break. Stretch the legs out long for Shavasana. So take the feet kind of wide so that the hips can remain open. And once the legs relax, letting the feet flop open too. Arms at the sides with the palms facing the ceiling if that feels okay. That way the shoulders can roll back and down and the chest can remain open. And though if this doesn't feel good, any other position is okay too. More important to be comfortable. So for more low back support, you can bend the knees, or you can even come up into a seated position with the eyes closed, kind of a seated meditation. Wherever you are though, letting the muscles of the face gently relax. Paying special attention to the forehead and the corners of the eyes, and the muscles of the jaw. And then letting the neck soften. The breath becomes easier while the shoulders relax. And just slowly moving downward through the entire body until you reach the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes. And then with your next inhale, slowly beginning to move through the fingers and toes, just allowing little tiny movements to come back into the body. And when you're ready, making your way over to either side in a supported fetal pose, and just pausing momentarily before pressing up to a comfortable seat. Once you get there, keeping the eyes closed if you can, and bringing the palms together at the center of the heart. And with this really simple posture, finding a sense of balance, right? We're sitting tall but relaxed. The spine is lengthening, but the shoulders releasing. Pressing the right palm into the left and the left palm into the right, and the thumbs into the sternum, and the sternum presses back so that the heart can lift and open a bit. And carrying that sense of balance with you throughout the rest of your day. And thanks for joining me this morning. Namaste.